Hey, Natsu here. Today I'm going to do part 7 or 8 of my leveling deku. In the last part, he went to the Elvish Kingdom, didn't gain any level and didn't stay long, so he still has the 221 years of age, and he didn't gain any level, so 1100 if I remember correctly. He gained the third book out of 21 and is going to the Beastman Kingdom. This time, on the way, a lot of things happened. Firstly, to go to the Beastman Kingdom, he has passed or by a lake, or by a forest, or completely go around both, which increase the time that it takes by about a week and a half. Because basically, the only way to pass around it is to go all the way to the ocean, take a boat, pass all the way to the other side, and then go back in all the way to the kingdom because they are surrounded by a massive forest with lakes in the middle. Basically, if you would look at it from above on a map, imagine the Beastman Kingdom on an island that has... You know what? I'm going to go look for an image that kind of makes sense more. Okay, so imagine that this is the island that he is on, but that's on the top part, like here where there's water, it actually continues a lot further. Imagine that this is where the kingdom is, and that this part where you see the water kind of entering has forest going from there all the way to the other side here. Basically that, but on a scale that makes it so that it takes days just to pass in it and over weeks pass around it simply because of the size of it. So for sure Deku decides to pass inside the forest, which when you go near it you have a lot of well, basically there are multiple people that have houses or other small things around there that has shop in it. Basically some of them are saying go around, you're better off doing that because inside of it there's a lot of monsters. Other people are just there to basically sell you items that you might need to go in there, or stuff that you would like to buy before going in there, like potions and stuff like that. Deku doesn't take anything and just go in, since he has a lot of weapons, a lot of potions, a lot of that, as well as if he finds the material for it, he can basically just craft them if he wants to, so no big deal really. So just to walk through, well, in the forest and to get out on the other side, it takes about 3 days. The forest is extremely big and dense with a lot of monsters. So Deku decides to be careful and that when he sleeps he makes or he uses his earth his earth magic to make himself a hole, which would basically protect him from anything, which he might do, or use wind magic to basically make himself fly over anything to keep him out of danger, which is a lot less possible because there is a lot of monsters that fly. So during the first day of going there, he, well, for about half of the day, he was in the less dense side of the forest because it is separated in four different stages. Um, on the sides, you have the low density forest, which basically houses some monsters, small animals. Um, some people even live there, but not a lot. It's mostly hermits and stuff like that. The second level is dense forest that has, well, most of the monsters that are in there are basically bog monsters like giant spiders, um, giant plant monsters like um, fly traps and stuff like that, carnivorous plants. The third level is a, well, low density forest that houses snakes, wolves, werewolves, small dragon like monsters that are called dragonkin or dragonoids, which you have to be careful because there is a species, well, there are multiple species of um, human like creatures that are called in the, that aren't classed as beastmen or but in the demi-human that are called dragonoids and dragonkin, which the dragonoids have wings, tails, can fly and breathe fire. The dragonkins are more, well, look more like lizards, so no wings, but can breathe fire, poison, and different elements. So Dragonoid can fly and only breathes fire. Dragonkin can breed multiple different elements and cannot fly, compared to dragons that can range from every different elements, can fly, and blah blah blah. So there are monsters that are called dragonkin and dragonoids, but there is also intelligent species that are called like that. So you have to be careful when distinguishing in those two. Because the reason I'm placing it like that, because actually the reason I'm naming the monsters like that is because of my friend Rifle Buster on YouTube that we talk in real life, and he basically asked me to do creatures that are like that and name them like this. So I decided to say that the reason they're called like that, even though there's another species already, well, other species called like that, is because both of them were kind of discovered. Well, the monsters were discovered while the other species were already calling themselves like that, and they didn't change the name for either ones. So yeah. So for the dragonkins that are monsters, the way they look is basically like a small dragon, well, more like a small wyvern that has mostly metal looking scales, as well as not able to breathe any elements, but being able to stand on their back legs. So those are um, the Dragonkin and, well, the monster Dragonkin. The monster Dragonoids basically just looks like a, well, they look like a serpent mostly with wings, and, well, they have wings on their back and two front arms to grab, dig, stuff like that. And just like for the Dragonkin, they cannot breed anything. Well, they cannot breed elements. So those two species are mostly there when it comes to those woods. There's a lot more outside of the woods, but in these woods, they mostly stay in the third level. The last and fourth level, which is in the middle, are basically the lakes. And those are the most dangerous places because each lake have multiple different species of monsters. Piranha-like fish that are extremely big, snake that go underwater and can jump out, and the size of their head is about 3 meters wide, so they can jump you in one bite. There are a lot of other species of fish. There is even a species of fish that their skin is basically, well, their scales are basically covered in a acid-like matter that, as long as it is, well, even in water, if you touch it, you basically start burning because of the acid, but it doesn't react with the water around the fish. So those fish, those fishes basically dissolve boats when they pass close to them, with every other species basically breaking them. So it's kind of hard to pass through the woods. And Izuku basically passed through the first level, which basically only have small monsters. And in the second level, the first thing he remarked was that he sensed as if he was watched from everywhere, which was true. Um, Most of the beasts he had to kill in that place were giant spiders, other bugs like that. Multiple times he burned some, well, froze some plant monsters just to not burn the entire forest down. Um, and he had sleep there, which is kind of horrifying because even if you dig a hole, giant spiders that like to dig to make their houses, and trapdoor spiders that are basically the size of a car, stuff like that, are extremely prevalent there. Um, Spaces where there is no tree for a certain diameter. Basically, when you go to enter the forest, they tell you don't go near that in the second entry level because it's basically a trap. And Deku decided to make one for himself because even monsters know not to go there. So he basically just kind of made one for himself and kind of dug the entire place for about 100 meters down, then put back all of the dirt and stuff like that, and then made himself some kind of stone house with stone walls and a floor, just to make sure that nothing would enter. He grew some plants inside of his house with some magic to make sure that he doesn't need to have a hole in it so that small creatures enter. And he made sure to do the plant with seeds that he had to not have monster plant inside his house. So the first night he passed it like that, sleeping correctly but sometime waking up because of giant monsters and spiders basically coming close to it and trying to get in or to try and breaking it, which the walls are about half a meter thick, made of pure solid stone, so it's kind of hard to break. When he woke up the final time before leaving, the walls were cracked still, because those monsters are freaking strong. And he literally said those bastards, they almost got in. So the first thing he decided to do before going out was make sure that nothing was around. He saw a lot of bugs, which he then decided that, okay, yeah, there's a lot of bugs, I'm going to have to do something about that. And so he used ice element and basically used a ice dragon breath, increasing himself with ice dragon force, and kind of just send it all around him, basically freezing about 200 meters of forest on a diameter around him, before starting to run straight for the third level, which he isn't scared about because the two monsters that live there are partially dragons, and dragons don't go after a dragon that is stronger than them if they are able to sense it. So he literally just took off his bracelets and used one of his dragon force, let's just say fire, and he literally could just walk through it without any problems. And this one is a lot longer than the second level, so basically he arrived at the lake about, well, he left at about 2 hours in the morning. He only slept for like 4 hours in total. And he arrived at about, I would say, 9 or 10. So it took a while, but remember, he was running all the way from where he was on level 2 all the way to where he is right now, which is the 4th level. Which, what he decided to do was basically to not take any chances, and he went with Dragon Force, Sky Dragon Force, and just kind of floated over to make sure nothing would touch him or that he would even do any disturbance in the water. Because he literally just doesn't want to use it to just fly around everywhere. He could, but he just doesn't want to be able to basically see everything he can. So while flying, he was basically looking down and seeing every monster he could see in the lake. And on the other side, he decided that, okay, yeah, at this point, I'm going to sleep and have a long night of sleep. So he made himself another house, this time with walls a bit more around a meter thick, just because no freaking way that something's getting in. He knows he can probably kill anything around, but he can still be overwhelmed if there's too much, and he doesn't want to use too much power. So he arrived on the other side of the lake at about Well, it took a lot of time because he was flying slow, not to alert anything in the water by making a lot of wind pressure. So he flew across it in around like 6 hours. So yeah, basically 6 hours to go. Slept up, well, didn't sleep all the way up to there, but sorry for that sound. He basically just kind of made sure that nothing was close to him for a while. He ate a bit, stuff like that. Just kind of relax. And then at around 10 p.m., he decided to go to sleep and woke up at around 6, 7 and decided that he was just going to run the rest of the way as fast as he could without using magic, because he's basically just trying to kind of challenge himself to use magic as little as possible, unless it is absolutely necessary for different reasons. Let's start. And so, yeah, he basically just kind of ran the rest of the way by sprinting as fast as he could without using any dragon force or stuff like that, and he can go extremely fast, so it took him about 7 to 9 hours by really going as fast as possible. Like, not as fast as humanly possible, as fast as deku possible. Since normal humans in every different continent are classed as lowest. Yes, the humans of the third continent, lowest of the third lowest continent, are probably stronger than the strongest person from the lowest, but those are pretty much like the exceptions. Since they are in a stronger continent where they are born stronger. But for the continent he's on, he even half elf normally aren't that strong. Unless they are in high level, which he killed a lot of monsters and basically gained like 2 levels over time. So at 1102. And when he finally got out, he was basically huffing and puffing, and someone asked him, "Whoa, how long were you in there? And how long were you running for?" And he just said, "From the lake to here in 8 or 9 hours. I didn't count, I just ran." Which the guy said, "Holy crap, normally it takes about a day just to pass from one side all the way to in the middle of the third level." Which Deku said, "Yeah, well, fuck that, I'm not staying in there any longer. Next time I'm going to pass over it." Which the guy said, "Oh, so you knew a spell to fly?" Which Deku said, "Yeah, but I wanted to try and see how I could do in there." The guy basically told him, "Yeah, I know, normally no, If you can fly, anyone passes over it or goes around it. Which Deku said, I know why. I'm going to say that while he was running, Deku did, well, while he was in there, Deku did see some bodies of adventurers and stuff like that, and collected some weapons and stuff like that that they had on them, well, that was left on them. And the guy asked Deku if he saw a lot of corpse in it, because someone that he knew went in it with a special sword, and if the guy died, he would like to have it back. Deku said that yes, he saw a lot of people, asked him what the sword looked like. The guy said that it's kind of hard to describe. Then he said that, well, that it looks like a generic sword, but that some things are different. Like the side of the blade by which you cut is of a deep red with an uneven pattern. The um, the sword has a small curve at the end, making it go back a bit and compared to the rest of the sword, which is practically completely straight. Um, the handle is of a deep blue with a special pattern on it, basically diamond shape at the end. Which Deku takes out two swords kind of like that. One that's basically broken, and the other one that's fully made. That's just a bit damaged. Deku said I don't know which one it is from those two. If it's that one, basically pointing to the broken one, he says I'm sorry. Which the guy said, yeah, well, the last thing that was on it was an enchantment that was making it repair itself, so I'm pretty sure it's the one that looks good. Which Izuku scans and said, alright, that's the one, and basically starts laughing, giving it to the guy. Which, the reason I'm doing this is because the guy basically asked Deku, so where are you going? Which Deku basically tells him where it is, and the guy said, oh, I was actually going to go there then the next day to get some provision, to actually go in the forest to try and get the sword. So let me repay you for this. And then tells Deku to basically grab onto him, like holding his shoulder or something like that. Which Deku does, and then the guy used a spell that is called Teleport Location. When the spell is used, Deku sees that he is in the Beastman Kingdom, asks what the spell was, and the guy said that it is a spell that lets you go to any, well, town, kingdom, or stuff like that that were big, basically, where you left, well, that you already went to. So as long as you went someplace that is as at least a town or a village, no matter where it is, as long as you have enough magic to do the travel, you can teleport there in about, well, for every kilometer you have to pass, it's about a second. So the longer it is, the longer it takes, but it's still fast. Like, really fast. Oh no, not 10, about 100. Because 10 kilometers isn't that long in that sense. It is far, but still makeable. So, It is. They could ask him basically how it works precisely, which is that wherever you actually already went and have a good image of it, you can imagine a specific place that you already were at a point. Use the spell, and it basically teleports you to that exact place as long as nothing is in the way. Which does make Deku basically, well, Deku learns the spell thanks to that, which he says that's going to be helpful. Which the guy asked him why, and Deku explained that he is actually trying to find 21 books that every kingdom or big cities have for one of each of the 20 big cities. He already has 3 of them, and the last one is in a temple on the other side of the continent. And he needs to go get all of them. The guy asks him what the names of the books are. Deku tells him, and the guy says, "Oh, I think it's in one of the big libraries. It's across the kingdom, but nobody is able to enter unless you actually ask the king." Izuku asks him where he could find the king precisely, because he doesn't want to go to the castle and being told, "Oh yeah, he's not here for a while." Which the guy says, "Yeah, I get that." And then he explains to Deku that the king is um, actually sick and stuck in his bed in the castle, and that anyone that he finds trustworthy, he will let go to that place. But that for now, he doesn't seem to want to trust anyone. Which Deku decides to think about it and remembers about a specific thing that he got at some place in the dragon's cave. While fighting, before leaving, I'm pretty sure I didn't say about it, but one of the dragon gave him a special vial. This has the blood of a unicorn. Well, a special type of unicorn to be more precise. Those unicorns are extremely rare, and the way they work is that every year they basically make, well, they don't need to mate, they basically don't have genders, but every year all of those that are alive on the same day basically just give birth to a new one. So every year the population on that specific date doubles, which makes it so that, well, as long as they're left alone for multiple years, there is a lot of them that's going to be there. The reason having the blood of one of those is extremely, well, interesting and that it is rare is because their blood has the capacity that, well, to cure practically everything with a single drop. And the vial that the dragon gave him has around 3 gallons in it. It is extremely big. So he has for a while of it. And when I'm saying it can cure everything, I'm saying it can cure uh, illness. Um, let's say you lost a limb, as long as your body didn't already heal over it. If you drink a drop of unicorn blood, well, that species of unicorn's blood, it will regrow your limb in about, well, some seconds, which will be painful, but your limb will be back. And it can do the same thing with illness and cancer, which makes it something that when you can get it, you basically don't pass up the occasion, and that is why this species is basically rare. Because, yes, there are a lot of them, but every time someone sees one, it basically gets killed. So, yeah. So, he has about 3 gallons of it, and basically tells the guy that he can heal the king. The guy tells him good luck, and then basically explains to him where he needs to go for, well, Izuku asks him for every different libraries. The guy tells him about them. There's basically only two. One that's not that big and basically has about 2,000 books in it. And the second one that you need the approval of the king to go there, which has about 11,000. So Izuku first go to the one with 2,000 books, and basically he looks at everything that's around, and they're only books that he read before, except one. A book that is basically a mind reading book, which basically tells about a spell that someone had a while back. A lot of people have that spell, but this one precisely. Because the other spells are or you have to launch your magic and touch the person that you want to read the mind of, or you need to do contact with it. This one works in a radius. Whatever, well, depending on how big the amount of magic you can control is, you can make a radius basically as big as you want. And anyone in that radius, you can read the mind even if they don't even want to. So basically an unlimited amount of reading, well, of mind reading that you can do in that. And with the amount of magic that Izuku has, if he wanted to, he could do about 200 meters around him with ease. Because the spell works basically making a ball around you. But compared to other mind reading spells that don't take that much magic, the reason this one takes a lot is because even if you actually don't want to, your mind gets read. It's but not just to people or animals. Things that are dead, you can also see. Plants, you can feel their emotions. Um, well, not emotion, but know how much life they have in them. Um, well, since most of the plants do have, well, are alive, you can kind of know what it's feeling, kind of. Um, like I said, dead things like If someone is dead, you can read whatever happened to that if the soul is still around it. Which, for a soul to leave a corpse take in this world, depending on what happened to it, like if he died of natural causes, the soul doesn't stay with the body long, basically stays for some amount of time, like under an hour, since he left the world by age, he isn't stuck to anything. If you die from an illness, it basically enters in the same category, basically natural causes. Something less natural as, let's say, someone used a sword on you or attacked you with a spell or something like that. Your body was in shock and is basically holding to your soul for a certain amount of time. That can vary from a day to years, depending on how bad it was. Then there is when your soul gets stolen, which that's basically just makes it so that you don't have your soul on your body anymore, and so you cannot read it at all. That's basically what the spell does, and it's not like, okay, I want one specific person. It is everything of those at once, and I have all of those memories. Normally, the spell is bad, but for Deku, that's a lot different, since the way this one of the skills he has is that whatever he sees, hear, read about, or anything like that, his body keeps in mind. Even though he doesn't remember it by himself, he still has it. So the moment he needs it, his memory basically his mind basically places it directly, and he is able to remember everything exactly how it was. So for him, this spell is pretty good when you count that no matter what he sees, he's going to he doesn't have any limits compared to any normal person. And he has a fully perfect memory, which makes him, well, the only capable user of this at the amount that he can use. Which he decided to think of it as a bonus for the new spell, well, the new teleportation spell he learned about. Because if someone went to a place that he didn't go yet, but that they have a perfect memory of that, he can use it as if he was there and teleport to those places. Which is why I'm giving him this spell. Which also comes from my great friend Grateful Buster, just like for the Dragonkin and Dragon and whatever. So, like, there's a thing in this series that actually comes from him directly, like the bracelet, the dragon spell that reduce your power to basically train. Something that might come in the next part as well. So yeah, there's multiple things that come from him. At first for the dragon spell I didn't know why he wanted me to do that, until he explained that, well, you're not used to this body, or just it changes what you look like, so now your body has to adapt to that. Which I said, okay, but over time you do get adapted to that body, which the reasoning he had afterward is that, well, actually I don't even remember what it was basically in the end, it's just like, okay, yeah, well, look, the spell just makes it so that you're weaker dot to the line, and there also so yeah, he basically gave me multiple things for this series. That the only reason I actually placed in the series is because it is kind of funny to do that. Like normally, someone transforms into a dragon. You're waiting for him to become a lot stronger. Nope, he becomes weaker. So that's why I kind of did do that. So, okay, like I was saying, the mind reading spell. So after reading that, he decided to go for the king's palace. When he started entering by the front door, guards kind of tried to stop him, which Izuku basically took a extremely small vial, well, a potion bottle, basically extremely small, and in his inventory kind of just emptied that, and then took from the blood bottle and placed it in there, which yes, the small bottle basically has for around 20 drops of space, and basically just takes it out and says, "Unicorn blood. I'm here to heal the king." Which the guards do kind of, well, aren't really accepting at first because they're just thinking it's hard to find a unicorn and nobody would give it like that unless they had a reason. Then they asked him, and he said that he wanted to speak to the king, and that the only way for him to do that is if he is actually, well, in good shape. So they kind of had to accept after a bit, just because the king was able to sense that someone else had entered the castle. And after about 20 minutes of them kind of trying to make it impossible for Izuku to go by, the king asked someone to basically let that person enter and come to his room. He wasn't hearing what they were saying, but anyone that enters the castle that he doesn't know the aura of basically comes to see him. So they basically brought him with the two guards basically telling him, well, with two guards basically telling him no funny business. And then when he entered, Izuku told the king that he wanted to go in the big library, which the king told him, "Why would I send you there? The only people that I send there are people that are trustworthy. Secrets of our kingdom are there." Which Izuku said, "Because I need a specific book and that I want to read everything that I can." Which the king didn't really like at first hearing that. Then asked Deku what it was, and then Izuku said that he was looking for one of the 21 books that allowed to read an ancient language, which the king says, "I do remember us getting one of those, but why would you want it? And why do you know about them?" Which Izuku then says his title, King Izuku Midoriya, from the weakest continent, and basically kneels before the king, and the king tells him, "Ah, so you are a king as well. Why didn't you say it sooner? Then the king tried to kind of lift himself up to show respect to Deku for coming here, and he starts coughing. And Izuku tells him, I have one other thing to give you. Then takes out the small bottle with 20 drops of unicorn blood in it and tells the king, this is for you to help you make you feel better. It's unicorn blood. Which the king is impressed by Deku bringing that and asks him why he brings that. Which he says, because I want to talk to you. And for this to happen, you need to be healthy. Which, the moment the king hears that precisely, he knows what Deku means. Deku wants to try his strength against the king. Simply because Deku never fought his species directly. Because the king is of a special breed of beastmen, which are a mix of wolf and white tiger. Since normally, when two different beastmen um, be well are together, the kid that can result from it have 45, about 47% chance of being um, the no, about 30% chance of being the male species, about 65% chance of being of the female species, and the last 5% are basically the chance of them mixing together. So he's basically from the 5%, and Deku wants to fight him. Which the king asks him why he wants to fight, which Izuku says, because I want to know who you truly are. What is your way of fighting? Which the king laughs and coughs again, and then Deku gives him the small bottle, and the king drinks a small drop of it. He goes to give the bottle back to Izuku, and Izuku tells him to keep it. 19 drops of unicorn blood can be quite useful. Which the king says it is true. Because the type of bottle he actually used, he basically made a modification to the, well, actually no. There's literally a bottle made for that, since some potions only need one drop, but since you won't have a small bottle with only one drop in it, you basically have more. And for those potions, they basically have a special mechanism on the top of it that you kind of reverse it, and there's just one drop that falls down for you to basically only take one. So the king keeps it. Then they go to fight. The reason Deku wants to fight him is because he heard from a rumor that he was in the um, anomaly, or abnormal category. Oh, was it abnormal or something else? Yeah, I think it was abnormal. Well, basically, why Deku wants to fight him is to see how much stronger the king is compared to him. So, um, Okay, sorry for that. So Deku goes well straight for it and tells him about it. That he is classed as just under high for the ranking in this continent, which the king is impressed. Ask him what his age is, 221, and the king tells him that with that age, well, at that age, if he is classed like this in this continent, when he comes from the weakest, he is lucky. Which Deku says, yeah, well, I'm going to keep going and getting stronger. Which the king says, yeah, I expected you to say this. Then he asked if he knew about his level, which Deku said the last time he checked he was at 1102, and the king said, oh, that's a good level. How many fights did you do? Which Shizuku said a lot, but most of those levels come from reading books. Which the king kind of acts like, well, kind of looks disappointed a bit, as well as some of the warriors, well, and soldiers, I mean. And then Izuku said, well, I have a skill that let me learn any magic or skill that I read about or learn about completely, as well as for fighting styles, so I kind of have to read a lot of books to help me augment whatever I can, which does bring a light to the king's eyes, thinking, this is going to be sorry about that, this is going to be a swell battle. I don't even know if I'm using the word right. I'm French, so some of the more complicated words are kind of hard for me. So this is going to be a fun battle, basically. That's what the king's saying. Um, Both Deku and the king goes for the fight, and at first the king is dominating Izuku. Like he doesn't even seem to have a chance to win. Which the king tells him that he should have tried to fight someone else. Which Deku then asks the king, did you sense the high magic pressure a while back? Which the king says during the last week. Yeah, I did sense it. That was intense. And then Deku said, yeah, well, that was me. Which the king and the guards are like, huh, like that could be possible. You don't even radiate a lot of magic from you. Which Izuku says, yeah, well, I have this bracelet on me. And then he starts removing it. And then a huge amount of magic. Which the king said, ah, this does explain a bit more. But simply using a bracelet to hide your magic doesn't make you weaker, so removing it won't make you stronger. Ichizuku says no, but it will let me show you why it was me. And then he just says, Dragon Force. And lightning and fire starts going around him because he used thunder and fire Dragon Force at once, making him about just over the king right now. So he is stronger than the king, but only from a small amount. Which the moment they start fighting again, the king see like, Holy crap. What the hell did this kid do? So, in the end, Deku used a third Dragon Force and beat the king. The king told him he could go to the library and told him that if he finds the book, to take it. Which Deku does. And it takes him about 3 days in the library, which makes him around, well, while being there, since he passed multiple weeks and stuff like that, moving around and walking or reading books. But one thing that I should say is that um, well, he didn't start his adventure at exactly 14, or hell, a lot of places I said like he stayed that amount of years. He didn't state the exact year count. He had multiple days or weeks over that, as well as when I say like, oh yeah, he passed about a month or two there. He passed a bit more days or something like that. So by this point, he has another year under his belt, so 222, and he knows a lot. Since in that library, he read about the history of this kingdom, um, the history of the kings, queens, and everyone else. He read that normally when you beat the king in a fair fight, like they did right now, the one that was able to beat the king is supposed to be the next king. Which Deku, after seeing that, basically thought, oh shit, please don't tell me they're going to try and crown me here. Which, after finding the book and reading the rest, the rest of every book that there was in the library, he gained about 7 levels because he already gained a lot from books. So even if he finds a lot of books, you still have already a large amount of levels and stuff like that. So yeah, when he finally leaves the place, he basically learned about 30 new spells. Um, he learned 4 new types of martial arts and fighting styles. He learned 2 new language that basically have, how can I say this? He cannot talk them, but he can read and write perfectly in them, which is extremely impressive. And finally, and the most useless thing, but will still get involved later in the story, um, Deku found in one of the books a special type of paper. This type of paper is, well, kind of different from anything, well, any other regular piece of paper. It cannot be destroyed in a normal matter. Like, you cannot burn it, you cannot put it in water to make it, um, well, destroy it. And there's a lot of other things that basically don't work on it. So, he decided to just keep it since it was weird. He didn't know he was going to do with it. And when he went back to the king, to the castle, to basically tell the king that he's going away, the king was waiting there, and Deku was like, shit, he's going to try and crown me, since I beat him fair and square. And the moment Izuku arrives, the king tells him that in the history of this kingdom, every time someone new came and fought against the king, and then Izuku said, when the king gets beaten in a fair fight, the one that beat him gets crowned. The king said, well, yes, but I was going to ask you, did you consider this a fair fight, knowing that I was actually using spells to slow you down? Which Deku asked, what do you mean? And then the king says that multiple of the guards were playing a game to see how long you would be able to last against me while only having um, an extremely small part of your magic and speed. Basically, he said, yeah, I did feel a lot slower than normal, and I was asking myself why some of my spell didn't work as well. Which the king said, you beaten me while you were at disadvantage, but it still makes it a non-fair fight. So I wanted to ask you, would you still consider? And then Deku said, no, I'm already king of a country and I left that place to leave my kids to do it. I had enough of that life. Which the king says, you're a half-elf, right? You should have probably thought about this. Which Izuku said, yeah, well, my kids wouldn't outlive me anyway. Which the king asked why, and he says because both of my kids are three-quarter humans, and their lifespan is only about 300 years. So I kinda left to make sure that they had time to actually be kings and queens, king and queen of the place. Which the king kind of said, oh, that explains a lot actually. Which Izuku says, yeah, and I'm pretty sure I'm never going to see them again. Which is sad, but then the king finish. It is kind of necessary when you are trying to explore the world. Yeah, it is gettable. Which both of them kind of laughs, and Izuku says, well, I found my book. So I was going to leave. Which the king tells him, well, good luck on your travels, and thank you for the blood. I feel better than I did in the last 20 years. And that's saying a lot. Which they could kind of ask him what he means. And then the king tells him, well, you see, the illness I had, it was something special. Normal potions and other things cannot even cure it. The only thing that would have been that were strong enough to do it, were the blood of a unicorn, or if someone exchanges the, I'll try it again, or if someone uses a special spell that basically makes it so that you exchange bodily conditions. So like if someone has let's say a broken arm or literally lost an arm, and that someone um, that has isn't actually broken for his arm or that still has it, if one of the two uses that spell on them, well, on the other person, any negative condition or positive conditions on the body are exchanged. So the guy that lost an arm, his arm will regrow while the other one will lose it. And it's kind of like that. So basically, the king says that um, the sickness he has, that was basically, those were basically the only two ways to possibly heal him. So from what he did, he basically saved the king's life, since he would only had blah, only of have had around 2 more years to live if he wasn't cured. So he was really happy from Deku, which Deku said that he thought it was just an illness that lasted a small amount of time and that he was going to get cured from it. Which the king says, yeah, well, I was able to keep it a secret for a good amount of time that I was sick. So by the point that I got like this, everyone thought it was just me getting a small sickness that would pass, but it was way further than that. Which Deku tells him that at least now he's going to be able to live longer before deciding to leave. Which the king is happy that he actually found a friend, kind of, in Deku, because both of them, when they fought, um, were kind of basically just showing the other mm, how they actually fight. And when the king knew that people were using spells to basically make Izuku weaker, they were kind of mad about it. Well, he was kind of mad about it. Izuku didn't seem to care, and he thought it was funny. So yeah, both of them became friends, and Izuku has 4 of the books. And now he's leaving to go to a human kingdom. Since there are multiple kingdoms in this, most of them are basically mixed kingdoms. So like some humans, some demi-humans, some this, some that. The ones that he went to for now are basically places where it's one species mostly controlling everything, and then like an extremely small amount of other species. But the next place he's going are a bit different. Like the human kingdom is basically like 89% human, the rest are different species. But the places going after that are basically every species mixed up in it. So yeah. Deku is about 1107 for the level, 222 for his age, and yeah, he's has 4 of the 21 books he needs. Hope you liked it. Leave a like if you did. I had fun doing this. If you have any idea for any what if that you would like to see, I'm going to leave my Discord in the comment section. You can join to give your ideas or just talk with me, and basically just that. So yeah, hope you liked it. Natsu out.